A warm welcome to one and all. This is Irleracy, product consultant of Serverless 360. At Kowai, we will listen to customer feedback and enhance our products. This way, we evolve the products for real-world scenarios, thereby bringing maximum value to our customers. In this session, Saramna would showcase the current new version of Serverless 360. Nishant and I would be glad to address any questions on the product. Over to you, Saramna.
Thank you very much, Alil and Mohan, for the warm welcome. Okay, I think, and also thank you everybody for joining this session. And I don't know from where you are, like there's a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. So I think this next 40-45 minutes, I'm going to focus on the Serverless 360. We internally call this version 2. It's a pretty much in a complete revamp of our original product. In fact, like we are going to support both V1 and V2 for some time, because the changes are a bit dramatic, and there is a migration required for our existing customers. And we thought in the long term, long run, like this is essential to position the product correctly given the amount of changes that's happening around Azure. First, just to give you a bit of a background about what is Serverless 360, it's nearly like a 5-year-old product now. So we started the initial version of Serverless 360. We used to call it as Service Bus 360. We started off as a tool focused more on Service Bus, giving more capabilities like what you, some of you might have experienced with the Service Bus Explorer. But over a period like a couple of years ago, like we thought the scope of the product is, we increased the scope of the product much bigger, and we started covering all the serverless technology stack that's available in Azure. So currently we are supporting about 28 different resources. And one of the major things what we have done now is, so Serverless 360 internally, we split them into 3 big buckets of 4 pillars. So one is called the Azure Business Applications, and then the second is Business Activity Monitoring. Even though it's a very generic thing, we just named it more to align with Azure. And finally, Azure Documenter is something fairly new. This is the first time we are showcasing it to a wider audience. I wanted to spend some time to explain each one of them, why we build it, what problem we are trying to solve it, and how it's going to look. So let's start with Azure Business Applications. So what is Azure Business Applications? And what problem are we trying to address with this particular feature in Serverless 360? So just to define the problem statement, this is what we are trying to achieve. So we are betting on this idea of, we think the Azure portal as it is now is too complicated for a day-to-day support. So if you look at, like this is our own experience as well. As a product company, we have a lot of production things running in Azure. So we have other products like Document 360, which is a SaaS-based solution, which is fully built and running on Azure. And Serverless 360 itself, as we got a large footprint of Azure. But if you look at a lot of enterprise organizations, a lot of subscriptions, a lot of things, but everyone is pretty scared to give the access for their team members into Azure portal. So even though it got really good control on role-based access, we are still a bit skeptical of giving access to Azure portal. The 2 reasons. One is it's changing dynamically, and you really don't know what level of control you have provided. The one common pattern we have seen is a lot of companies, even ourselves, like you provide read-only access to everybody, and then contributor access to very limited people. That just restricts your access quite a bit. And the other problem what you're seeing is like the complexity of the Azure portal. Like Microsoft being a platform company, they need to address every single audience they're accessing Azure. And if you remember in the past, like in the beginning days of Azure, we're talking about 10 plus years ago, every service in Azure, they used to have their own version of the portal. SQL had its own portal, and then the integration team, they had their own version of the portal. At some point, Microsoft decided to build a single portal, but because of that move, like it's good from a Microsoft perspective, but from an end user perspective, what we feel is it's really difficult for somebody to access it on a day-to-day from a support perspective. This is the problem what we wanted to address, and hence we brought this concept called business application. Because if you look at your Azure subscription, depending on the size of the company and how you provision it, we have seen customers who got only like a couple of subscriptions for the entire enterprise, and they have a lot of resource groups and a lot of things deployed into those subscriptions. On the other hand, we also seen companies with 200 plus subscriptions, and they defined like at the application level or like at the department level multiple things. But both the scenarios, once you have access to a subscription, it becomes really like cumbersome to access and support it. So this is what you're seeing on the right hand side is how your applications will look from Serverless 360, the Azure Business Application perspective. I wanted to get into the demo straight away. As I go along the slides, I wanted to show you the demo of how the product looks and each one and explain each one of them. So this is the Serverless 360. It's a SaaS-based application. We also have like in the PH version, we call it as a private hosted version where you can install it on your own systems as well. So what I'm showing here is our SaaS-based version. So as I mentioned, here there's three big buckets. The first I wanted to get into the business applications. Before I get into that detail, I wanted to give a glimpse of how your real Azure portal will look like. So in this case, we provisioned a subscription called Integrate SL 360 demo just for this particular demo purpose. And when you log into the Azure portal, you can see this is the view what you're getting, right? Like there are 61 records and there are a lot of resources running. And you've got different types of resources like logic apps and storage accounts and queues and topics, etc. So technically, you're deployed something, they're actually part of an application, but there's no way you can get that visibility. Yeah, you can structure it through some resource groups, or you can even use the management groups to structure it a bit, but still, you're not going to get that context of an application. On the other hand, you can see on the left-hand side, the amount of options, what you have like on the subscription, right? So it's everything like cost management and billing and settings and they address every single persona. So whether you are a developer or an IT pro or a support guy, basically you see everything. So if you can imagine like, why it's so difficult, we cannot give this access to a support person. So this is exactly what we're trying to address it. In a way, like, probably whatever we are doing in Serverless 360, you probably can achieve it in via Azure portal. We are not really trying to build anything new. It's more about a different user experience and understanding the persona of from a support person's perspective. So this exactly same subscription is what you're seeing here, configured using the Serverless 360. And if I log into the system, you can see it's basically structured in nicely into different business applications. So you have this booking management application, citizen registrations, order processing, dispatch processing, etc. So this is how you structure. Each one of them got a bunch of entities associated with them, right? So if I dive into one of these applications, okay, let me log in back. Okay, so if I dive into one of these applications, you will see like how things are structured. Before getting into the application, I also wanted to spend some time on the home screen itself. So one of the things what we have done here is we have this concept called business applications and also like a business application groups. So you can create business applications and also you can actually group them into multiple group them into whatever makes sense for your scenario. So this could be if you are like a consulting company or a managed service provider, you're dealing with a lot of clients, you can actually have a group for each one of your customers, or it could be each one of your department, or whatever way you wanted to structure it, you can structure it that way. So you can create groups, and like you can also move applications between those groups, and you can do all those kind of things. So let me first dive into one of those existing applications. It's called booking management application. So if I get into this, so this is what constitutes my business application. And if you look at the overview, so this booking management application got a bunch of resources, Azure resources, all grouped them together. And it contains maybe a couple of queues and logic apps and functions, and we give a different perspective. And the advantages of giving it this way is you can control like who got, if you want to give access to somebody like, your team member, for this particular application, you don't need to worry about it. You just give them access to this particular application. The same way, monitoring, if you wanted to monitor it as a single entity, I wanted to monitor this booking management rather than monitoring little items like queues and topics and things like that. That is another problem what you see in the Azure portal. I'll show an example of if you're configuring a queue, how the process is going to look like using Azure portal and how it's going to look like in a Serverless 360. So you got monitoring, and it gives a quick glance of different activities that's going on in the system. And you can see the resources, and you can actually, each one of these resources got a much deeper tooling as well. So if you look at service bus queues, you can look at, you've got different operations, what you typically do on a day-to-day basis, like, sending messages, purging messages, and things like that. If you look at logic apps, you got access to run history, trigger history, etc. So let's imagine like I wanted to, set up monitoring for one of these queue items. I want to show you like how does it work on Azure portal. So if you go to Azure portal and let's pick up one of these queues, I wanted to set up monitoring. Just trying to figure out service bus namespace. So let's pick up one of this service bus namespace, and it got some queues. And if you look at this particular queue, and if you want to set up monitoring, you can see you need to go to alerts, and you need to create a new rule, and it's a lot of configuration for you to set up some basic alerting. And the other problem is it's all like at the individual entity level. So it becomes very difficult to either you get into kind of alert fatigue. So you got a lot of alerts and you really don't know how the things are all connected. But if you look at the same thing on the Serverless 360 side, you can go to monitoring rules, and you can simply say whatever rules you wanted to set. It just makes it super easy for you to configure all of them, and it's all well connected within the context of the application. So you can go to monitoring side, and you can see the alert history within the context of that application. So there are things failing. You can take a look at why it's failing. So it's maybe a number of dead letters in your queue is 10, so it's greater than what you expect on a particular queue. So you can do it it's a pretty straightforward process to do it. And in terms of application, like we have this concept called dashboards. So you can actually build your own dashboard. We just set up a few things. You can have multiple dashboards as well. What is the booking processing, and then booking management. You can actually configure it in whatever way you want it. And again, one of the main USP here is you're talking in the context of an application. So there is from a day-to-day support point perspective, this is what a typical support guy will look for. This is actually, when we talk to a lot of customers, like what's happening is a lot of them, they're building their own tools. Like, they're building some kind of a portal or some kind of a tooling, basic tools for for the support team to working, rather than giving them access to the full Azure portal. And that is the gap what we are trying to address. So if you want to, get it, there are a lot of widgets comes out of the box. You pick up the resource type, and you can pick up different charts and metrics and stuff like that. So you can actually customize and bring your own dashboards quickly. The other important aspect of this application concept is we got something called a service map. So again, this particular application got like this 7 or 8 different resources which forms the application. And I'm sure all this presentation, you have seen a lot of this kind of diagrams, right? Like people putting like architectural diagrams, saying, okay, you receive a message from a web app, and then it goes to a topic, and from there it goes to a logic app, and then it goes to a function. It's typically like how you construct your application. What you're seeing is actually live data. So you can once you put all these resources together, this red and green basically shows it's violating some monitoring, and you can clearly see like what's happening here. And this also helps somebody to understand this booking app is actually like having some trouble and what problem it is. And you can actually like like it's a flexible. You can you can change it, and you can diagrammatically you can move things around, and you can assign it whatever way you want it. And you can also have like multiple different views of the same application as well. So this is really powerful from a daily application support point of view. And the other important aspect is automated task. So you know when you're having an application, like typically there will always be some kind of a cleanup job on a day-to-day basis, right? For example, there may be the queues in your application where it's piling up with the dead letters, and you want to, somebody need to clean it up. Otherwise, there's no system in the world which can run, like it's a perfectly. There will always be some orphaned things. We need to keep cleaning it regularly. So we got automated tasks for all this different entity types. So if you look at Service Bus, we got 3 different types of automated tasks you can do. Send Service Bus messages is useful mainly from a testing point of view. You want to figure into fire like millions of messages, you can do it. But the main, I think, is the process Service Bus messages is where you see more value. For example, this dead letter message, if I look at it how it's configured, so you can see like there are 3 options basically in a given queue. You can say like you can delete all the messages in a dead letter, or you can like okay, of course you don't want to drain everything. So you got based on some condition. Okay, maybe if there is a time to live expired exceptions are there, you just clean it up. Or maybe like a session ID full or some other condition, and if there are specific error reasons coming up, like there is an existing thing and you can clean it up, you can do that quickly. And also the other thing could be like a dead letter processing and resubmitting those messages automatically. Maybe you have like a similar a pattern, a day-to-day pattern. So you can say, okay, resubmit the messages from Service Bus queue, and this is the source queue, and this is the destination. You can pick up topics as well, and you can have it like an automated thing running on a daily basis. So we have these kind of automated tasks for multiple all those event types. For example, if you look at storage account, maybe one of the activities could be like regularly cleaning up storage files, maybe things which are like 90 days old or 180 days old. You might have some temp files storing up in your blog storage, and you wanted to clean it up. So we carefully crafted some of the items on each one of this entity type. What are the typical automated tasks you will have? And that's all configured on a daily basis. So this is how the business app is going to look like. I wanted to show you like how creating a new application will look like. Let's create a new application group. Let's call it Integrate 2021, and then just demo. I just created an application group, and you can see that all these icons are also color coded, so there's nothing in there at the moment. So maybe I'll go and create a new business application, and this is you can change the group if you want to. Let's call it as customer verification or something like that. This is the name of the business application, and you can choose your service principal. That is how the entire system works. So the way we get access to your resources is through service principal. You can actually use the one already pre-configured, or you can actually configure a brand new one and use it. And you can see it's actually a checkbox. It's not a single radio button. That means your application cannot necessarily live in a single subscription. Maybe your application may reside in multiple subscription, multiple resource groups. You can bring all of them together. So in this case, I'll pick up the one available. And the moment you start, what's happening right now is it's pulling all those resources from the service principal, and it's showing these are all the available resources for you to configure your business application. So in this case, let me pick up these 2 jobs. So 2 of them selected, and maybe I'll go and say these functions are also it's also showing like it's actually configured in some other business application. Maybe you can use the same, or I'm just picking up just for demo purpose. I'm picking up a few other things, and And when you're constructing your business application, you can say whether you wanted to apply some monitoring profiles. Out of the box, we ship monitoring profiles. But you can also, if you don't want that, but you wanted to just do like a custom one for this application, you can also do that. I'll pick up the system template one, which automatically maps. So we ship predefined profiles for all those resource types. So that is very important. So you don't need to spend a lot of time configuring, what is the best value for monitoring. We ship it. You can also, build your own monitoring profiles as well. So once this is done, and you say, well, where do you want to get alerted? So, you can email is a default, and maybe we also have other notification channels. You can send notification to OMS or, Webhook or Slack and Teams and PagerDuty and stuff like that. So you can pay. I'm just going to leave all these things default, and there is a summary, and then you create a business application. So the business application is created and it's all healthy now. And, this is what I created. And if I click on this one, you get a very nice view of this is my business app, which contains a function and then web jobs and hybrid connected. So the service map will be empty now because you haven't mapped it, but you can quickly create, you can say like, you can select them and, say I want to pick up this once and then say like, you can quickly say, this is connected to this. This is connected to this, and you can actually save it. And this is how you build up your service map quickly, and you get a view of more of an application. So now I think you got an understanding, and hopefully you can appreciate how it will be helpful for a support person, because a support person definitely this is not the right kind of view what a support person wants to see to support your business application. So this gives like a much more easy to use, easy to train somebody, and productivity is pretty high. A couple of things on the settings, monitoring profiles I mentioned, we ship some of them. You can also create your own profiles as well. Service principal management, we have only one, but you might have like a different service principal for a different subscriptions, or maybe when you're dealing with multiple clients, you might have multiple subscriptions for service principals for different clients. Okay, I think that is all about the business application side of things. So as I said, there are key benefits of the business application is these are 6 main things. You get a application view, and that is a core part, and you got a dashboard to visualize the application health. You can give access to people. You can monitor it as an application. The tools are pretty advanced. I didn't get a chance to go through all of them. The whole Service Bus Explorer capability, for example, is available on the Service Bus queues and topics. So that's the kind of tooling what we have for all of these entities. And the service maps helps you to visualize it, and running automated tasks helps you to run some cleanup jobs on a daily basis. So this is kind of what we see as a framework now, and we have initially supporting about 28 applications, 28 entities, Azure entities, and over a period we'll be supporting more and more as we progress. So this is now coming back to the second pillar of the Serverless 360, which is the Azure Business Activity Monitoring. So what problem are we trying to address with the Azure Business Activity Monitoring? So the statement here is, I'm sure if I've done this presentation in front of a live audience, and if I asked you this question, how many times have you built a custom logging and tracking solution? A lot of you would have raised your hands, because it's when you are working, most of you coming from an integration background, and you're doing this end-to-end application, even the service map, some of the examples I was showing on the business application, it's all kind of messaging, right? The message goes across the different entities like functions and logic apps. Even within a logic app, there are multiple places. So you need to get some kind of an end-to-end logging and tracking. That is exactly what we're trying to addressing with this business activity monitoring. So it helps you to logically construct your business processes, and we have captured data points at various stages. And once the data is captured, then we provide you some capabilities like visualizing the tracking, how the message goes through the system. And we can even provide monitoring based on some query parameters, and we takes care of the scale as well. So all you need to do as an end user is you only need to log what needs to be done, and everything else is taken care of. So I'll show you a quick demo on the business activity monitoring side. So let me go to the home screen, and next I'm going to the business activity monitoring side of things. So let me go to manage, and we configured one sample application called cab booking process. You can have multiple business processes. This is just a sample to show you one. And when I log into the system, it's basically we constructed, this is actually a logical thing. Like, you can do whatever you want. So here I'm saying, okay, start process and the booking submission, and there's a validation. And based on this, you got accept and rejected. So once you've defined it, so then you can log events to each one of them at a different points. So if once the business process is defined and the logging is all enabled, and at the runtime you will see tracking information like this. So a lot of transactions has gone through this system, and you can look at the transaction details, and this is what happened. So this is, you paused it and it's validated and it got rejected, and you can look at, look at each one of the stage and understand exactly, what are all the properties that are available. So, so you can click on this and you can see why there is an exception being raised. So all these properties are actually, captured in wherever place you are. So in this case, actually, I want to go and show you how this data is coming. So this is actually it's running on one of the logic apps. So let me go to this. Okay, integrate. This is the demo application what we have used. And if I go to the logic app designer, so all you need to do is you can see this action item. So we provide this to you, and you can see this. You just define what is the business process name and what is the transaction name and what is the stage in the transaction, and you log it whether it's a success or failure. So here you're saying you start, and then here you put more details, and then there is a action. And here you just say it's an exception, and you just log it as an exception. It's invalid location. Location is not supported. So you as an end user, you don't need to do anything. Typically I've seen in my past experience, people building these kind of systems for logging and capturing all these details. So you don't need to do all those things. All you need to do is, just capture these events in different places. I'm just showing it's a logic app, but this is not just for logic app. You can log this events through from your web application or a function, or maybe even from your .NET Core app or whatever, wherever it is. You have APIs and .NET libraries available for you to use it. And once you keep logging, you'll get this information here. So let me, you can edit this transaction, and you have this, you can configure what are the properties you want at each stage. So these properties can, they come from a JSON path, or, it could be, you define the data type. And so we provide the entire framework for you to, define your business process and make it logical. This again, it's helpful from a support point of view. If you have end-to-end tracking, you wanted to do it, it's available as as a part of Serverless 360. And you also have a monitoring and the tracking. The queries are pretty powerful. For example, I can let me take this detail. Maybe booking ID. I want to show you the rich query capabilities. So I can say you can see it's autocomplete and say booking ID equal to, copy the change this ID and then search. So it's a context sensitive, and it comes with its own query builder. So it understands the context, and all these things are inbuilt. You just need to focus on what's required. And also you can also monitor the based on the queries, whatever queries, you can also get alerted as well. If there are failure rates for this particular business process, or if there's some specific values, or above certain values, you can do all kind of things using this query monitoring and alerting capabilities. Okay, and I'll go back to the slide. And so it just gives you an overview of, like the business activity monitoring thing. People coming from BizTalk background might relate to the DAM functionality that's available in BizTalk, but here it's much more powerful. It's a fully hybrid. You can log the events from multiple places. So just to brief the key benefits of DAM, you get end-to-end message visibility, and you sometimes, you answer this question, like what happened to my message? Like, like for example, PO or purchase order, like, where is my purchase order? So those are typical questions, you keep getting from a business side. So this is more geared towards this one, for example, it could be fully designed for a business users, not even technical people, for them to, take it and accent. And I didn't get a chance to show reprocess capabilities. Maybe sometimes, you want to reprocess the message as well. So there's a failed transaction. It could be, you want to correct it, a few fields in this, and you want to reprocess it. You get that capability as well as part of the DAM implementation. And finally, you get a better business insights of what's happening inside your system. Okay, it's the final part of the product is called Azure Documenter. So this is something fairly new, and this is the first, as I mentioned, this is the first time we are demonstrating this this capability. So what problem are we trying to solve with Azure Documenter? So we are betting on this idea of, again, it's if you look somebody looking at Azure subscription, it's pretty difficult to understand what's going on because it's so huge. There's so many things running into your subscription, and it's difficult to get a context of what's happening. So what we're trying to do is, how can we make it, for somebody to understand the infrastructure side of things purely from a layman context. I myself experienced this problem. Like, we have so many subscriptions in the company, and to understand exactly, to get a glimpse of, what's happening, which region we are running, and a kind of an executive summary of, what's going on in your system, it's very difficult to get it. And that's the problem what we're trying to address with Azure Documenter. So you can again, the service principal at a subscription level, you configure it, and we have something called, once you configure it, you get an executive kind of reports as a PDF, or we even support an online version. And there we hooked up our other product, Document 360, to get an online report of your summary of your Azure subscription. So let me show back to the product and show how does it look like. So let me go to the home, or I could have gone straight and go to Azure Documenter. So we configured, couple of items. So configuring is pretty easy. It's a similar kind of experience. Maybe I can say, integrate 2021 configuration, and you pick up the service principal, or I can use the existing service principal. It's a similar kind of a concept. And I can go with either publish the result as a PDF. It's friendly. I can email somebody and do it. And by default, we store it on our own storage. But if you want, you can specify your own storage where you wanted to store that PDF files. Or I can go and configure a Document 360 as well. So that there, if you want some online version, you can do. Let me leave PDF for this. And we also have a billing range, like when you're producing a report, like all those billing items, how many days worth of data you want. You can fix last 70, 30, or even custom range. And let me leave it last 7 or 30 days. And then, that's all I need to do. Like, I click, and then behind the scene, like the documentation is getting generated. I don't need to wait. I can come back and check later. So let me close this one. So there's already a couple of configurations available. So I'll download one of this report. So this is actually previously generated report, and let me take a quick look. So you can see it's just a PDF document. You can email to someone. Let me wait for this to finish. Okay, it's basically generated a 39-page document, and then it gives you like a clear table of content. Okay, what is the summary of executive summary, billing summary, distribution summary, and some of the billing metrics, like gives a quick summary of some billing metrics. And we also look at the compliance information, and we put them as well. And there's a detailed summary of each one of the different alerts, different resources and what's available in each one of them. So if you look at the executive summary, it just gives you like what is the subscription, and it will also tell you what is the cost. You're just using the sample demo demo subscription. Hence, the cost is low. Typically, from an enterprise point of view, you'll understand. You can look at like an executive, like a product department owner or somebody like that. When you get the summary, you can quickly look at, okay, it's costing you this much, and the resource group wise, like what are all the split between the resource group, and location wise, type wise, like if you see any big numbers coming up, you can easily spot it. And then, this location is interesting. Typically, you won't have something like this. This is, for example, I spotted something when I was looking at a document 360 report, like there was a unusual location in one of the report, but our service is not supposed to run in that location. We are supposed to be in either in US or Europe. So when we saw something in production, we realized, okay, somebody has deployed a wrong, deployed as some entity into wrong location. It's able to figure out very quickly. And we also quick look at resource type. This is again same logic. Maybe these are all the typical resource types you use, and if you see something unusual like media service or something like that, which is not really your thing, it helps you to understand very quickly. Why is this resource available here? Like you can talk to somebody. And this is all the resource-wise cost details, location-wise details, and you get cost split, and then different logic apps level. So it's a good summary. You can email to somebody, and you can quickly somebody can take a look at it, and we also have option to filter. Probably you don't want everything, so maybe you want to just do certain basic things. So you also can filter out what you want. And I want to show you the online version as well. So this is the PDF version, and we also have this online version, which is actually running using Document 360. So if you click on this online version, this is Document 360 portal. I log into it's all fully secure. You log in, and that's exactly the same thing, but it's an online version. So you can look at billing and compliance and resource details and everything. So we're just taking advantage of the Document 360 knowledge-based capabilities, and we are producing that summary report is a Azure documenter, basically, summary report of your subscription, so people can understand quickly what's going on. So a couple of things, okay, we have this option called you can see the history. So every time you run it, we maintain the snapshot. That gives you like an advantage of you can actually compare between these two versions. So this is very useful, maybe you run this report once a week, and you can just do a comparison. So between these two snapshots, we run it across, and then we produce a report like what's changed between these things. This is again super useful. Maybe there are resources added. Maybe I download this snapshot comparison, show in folder, and it will show you what are the new resources added. And even property changes, as you can see, it's only a 9-page document, and just gives you some of the new resources. This new resource has been added. It's a real data, because this is something we added when we are doing on the demo. We did the first run, and the guys are setting up the demo, and there's this particular new resource is added. What are the properties and values, and the places where it's changed. But this particular thing, you can see these things are all changed. The state is changed from enabled to disabled, and version number is changed. So we track those changes and give you a quick summary report of what's changed in your environment. So back to the portal. So I think in a nutshell, that's the thing. And you have the different configurations, and you can have templates. Basically, we ship some standard things like executive and essential. But you can also add a template. Probably, if you think the data is overwhelming, you can fine tune it. If you look at the essential, the very basic thing, we just give you stuff what is essential for your report, but you can get an option to fine tune it. So this is kind of a V1 of the product, but hope over a period we have a lot of plans to enhance it and bring more value in terms of how a report can be done. So back to the slide deck. Okay. So yeah, in terms of key benefits, it gives you an executive report, compliance report, billing report, snapshot comparison, like you can compare between two snapshots. And we're also bringing another feature called change tracking reports as well, like you're monitoring all the changes and then giving you a report. As I mentioned, it helps you to spot problems easily. You get a really simple report and the only key points are highlighted, and that helps you to quickly spot what is the problem in your subscriptions. Okay, that comes to the final thing. Okay, whatever I have shown now is a V2, and we haven't launched it yet. We are planning to launch it soon, in the next few weeks. So if you are interested, just you register your interest there. And if you wanted to, we can also have like a personalized demo, like you wanted to go through a bit more detail. We are happy to do it. Just please, I'm sure that this link is available on the chat as well. So you can actually, copy it, and we'll be interested to hear your feedback as well. One of as a summary, what I wanted to convey is we are taking a stand of the toolings around Azure need to improve. Okay, the Azure portal cannot be the solution for everything, even though it's a super powerful portal. It try to address all this personas in a single place, but we are taking a look at how can we help people mainly from a support perspective. So the business application is on that context, DAM is also in that context, and Documenter is also in that context. You have things in production. Because this is one thing what I realized, people don't give importance, because you build something, the building normally takes less time, maybe 6 months or 1 year you spend to build something, but that solutions need to be supported for a very long period of time, right? Like your solutions are live production, and you need to run it for a very long period of time. And we are building tools to support that persona, like how can we help us? Okay, I think there are 3 minutes left. Probably I'll leave some time for Q&A. I guess the team would have answered most of them, but I'm also happy to take questions and answer. Yeah.
Saravna, we have tried to respond to most of the questions. Let me help you with few which are unanswered yet. How do you deal with a complete ring-fenced solution with a private network? APP, GW, mandatory SSL, private endpoints in front of every component, almost none allowed outbound traffic. So Saravna, should I take this question?
Yeah, please take it. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. I don't know the answer myself, but, okay.
Yeah, we had come across similar scenarios with many of our customers, and the choice is to go ahead with a private hosted solution within the same network. And that has proven to work for many of our customers.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, like with the demonstration, what I did was our SaaS solution that may be useful, will be sufficient for a majority of the customers. But if you have all this security requirements, and where like even we deal with some government clouds, Azure government as well, like where the private hosted version is your answer. Basically, you host it within your own network, and you got access to it.
Yeah. And there are suggestions like having a copy icon next to the values would be a great option. And the Q&A session was really interactive. Arun, myself, and Nishant managed to respond to most of the questions.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think it's good. I think parallelly the team is able to answer. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have run out of time and probably wouldn't have answered any of them. And also, we are happy to get your feedback as well, because this is not like a typical product. What we're trying to build, we're trying to build a kind of a category, right? Like a portal designed for Azure support. So we'd really love to hear your feedback, and whatever it is, we'd like to hear more from all of you. And if we will go through the questions again, if in case we missed out anything, like we will come back to you. And also, whoever interested, please register your interest there, and then we will let you know, like when the we are going to do a public review first, and then the launch. So we will let you know when we are ready. Yeah. So with that, I think I'm done, and thank you very much for all of your time. Thank you.
Covey.co.